Okay, so my name's Iain, and I'm one half of Unit 12 Gallery. That's the other half. My business partner and partner in life, Jennifer Collier. And that's some of her work. For those of you who don't know her work, she makes lots of objects and items from. She recreates them through found materials. So quite often the found materials kind of suggest the object, and that's my other business name, Print Garage. And I'm a screen printer, and we also have in the gallery 3 other artists. There's Julia Jarrett, who makes stuff out of wire and stitch, and there's Emily Notman. She makes things out of paper and stitch and things like that, and ceramics. And Louise Wilson, who is a wire artist. And this is our current exhibition, Spectrum. So as you can see, it's quite a small gallery that we have, small but perfectly formed. But this is kind of the main thing that I'm here to talk about today, which is our new programme, Cultivated, that we've set up. It's really just sort of started this week, which is a graduate support programme for craft makers coming out of university and kind of thinking, what happens next? How do I kind of make this work? And so we have been funded by Arts Council to do this. So we have given over a bit of the workshop space to allow 2 makers studio space for 6 months, and then after their time's up we have 2 more move in, and as you see, it's the second cohort. The 26th of July is the deadline for people to apply if they fancy having space next year. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. And so this is this year's selection. We've got Amy Ballou, a young maker from Nottingham, who describes herself as a decorative artist. She works in porcelain and found objects. So the kind of found objects kind of give some voice to the pieces of work. She savours the disregarded, which I quite like. We've got Hannah Watson, who is a machine knitter, recently graduated from Birmingham City University. And then in March, those 2 will move out to make way for Sophie, who is an art jeweller. I see a lot of links between again the kind of found objects and making them sort of the value in there, which I find seems to be quite an interesting idea. And then Isabel, who is a knotted bookbinder, using origami and kind of bookmaking. So we've got quite a broad, quite an interesting selection of unusual craft makers. And we have just inflicted on them an induction day and welcomed them into Unit 12 and welcomed them to our way of working. So what we did, we set them some homework to make some postcards describing their current practice and their hopes for the programme. That was some of the stuff that kind of came through. Understanding the practice, thinking about sustainability, developing that business, thinking about audience engagement, collaboration, creative growth. So everything that we all kind of think about business-wise. And then after that, we did a little bit of collaborative team building with some speedy screen printing. We made a semi-abstract motivational poster, which Emma took part of the class. Yeah. Which was yours? Your stretch, really? Yeah.
Stretch yourself and each other.
Which was good fun. I think we kind of found a little bit of things to find out some things about the makers and where they are and where they want to go. So there you go. The next one. So those are the kind of the questions. If this kind of interests you as an opportunity, we're looking for people who've graduated in the last 5 years. We're offering 6 months free studio space, an exhibition in Unit 12, some support and mentoring, and £1,000 to spend on kind of almost what we want. It is. Interesting, that seems to be the least interesting part of the offer. Everyone that we interviewed, and we said, what would you spend it on? They kind of went, don't know. The thing that really got people that they wanted was to kind of continue working in a shared environment where there's people to bounce ideas off and motivate one another.
And what's the workshop development bit?
That's thinking about how people might fund their practice and how they might develop their portfolio career. We run a lot of kind of art and craft workshops, so it's kind of offering them the opportunity to shadow and think about how to develop things along those lines that without necessarily feeling like they've sold out, or so that they can make something that still has integrity, but as a way of reaching the public and making money. And then things will. And we've also got a contemporary craft open. So once a year we have a kind of open exhibition that anyone in the craft world can apply to, and the deadline is the 21st September. All the details on the website. Any questions?
So when are you advertising for your next? Did you say you're advertising for some more?
Well, it's that we're accepting the applications, but we haven't really sort of started pushing the advertising for the next round. But we're certainly open to hearing from people right now.
That would be for next year?
Yeah, so they'd be starting either in September next year or March the following year, 2016. Yeah. Okay.
So is your gallery open to the public and you can just come?
Yeah, we're open. We just opened Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We find that our remote location, the nice countryside, means that we don't necessarily get random trade, we don't get passers-by, so we get people who seek us out, they've heard about us and want to come and have a look. So it's a dedicated audience without the kind of the casual footfall.
I'm interested to know whether are you kind of partially funded? Do putting bids to the Craft Council? I mean, how are you supporting your mentors? Is it all from
This
things that you've created as a group, or?
this particular project we've had funding from Arts Council
Okay.
and a little bit from Staffordshire County Council as well, the local authority, which is where the bursaries have come from for that. Unfortunately, we don't have big pots of cash, you know.
Yeah.
So the mentoring and stuff like that's come through there.
Oh, so the county council put the £1,000 per person. Is that what they've
No. Arts Council have given us
that's
the bursaries and
council bit.
the Staffordshire County Council kind of the part of the 10% external funding you have to find.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So we're sort of want to see how this programme plays out and then think about how we could expand it and make it a bigger offer. So it's very much a pilot programme.
Are you delivering the mentoring in-house?
In the main, where the expertise lies, so Jennifer's kind of like that kind of craft delivery portfolio. But we can draw on expertise from other people that we know that we can kind of twist arms a little bit. People like Phoebe Cummings, myself.
And you've got your studio.
And there's people within the studio that they can kind of, you know, ask and talk to.
And how long have you guys been going?
We've been set up as a gallery for 4 years. So, yeah, we're doing okay.
And sorry, I'm full of questions.
Yeah.
What did you do prior to setting up your gallery? I'm kind of interested to see the stages before you said, right, let's do it.
Yeah, the motivation came from mainly driven by Jennifer, who she's been in business for about 12, 13 years and kind of making her own work and doing a lot of generating a lot of income, going into schools, doing workshops, and it kind of came almost being a little bit burnt out by that she said, why don't I make it so that people come to me? And so we were able to kind of set up a base of operations. So rather than kind of working in sort of separate studios, we've been able to kind of build and greater than the sum of its parts.
And at what point did you invite other makers? Did you make sort of a setup for other makers to come and have studios in the complex?
We expanded 2 years in, so we'd opened the gallery and we had that for 2 years. We were even doing workshops in this quite tiny gallery and another workshop sort of directly attached to ours came available, so we kind of said, want that, can we have that please? So we sort of knocked a wall through. I thought one way of making it pay would be to rent or sublet spaces out, which of course brings more makers in and generates more interest.
And generates more people coming
Exactly.
to the gallery.
Yeah, exactly. So rather than just being, you know, one person's gallery, it's kind of, there's five of us, no 6 plus the graduates who we're working with as well. So it's a much bigger offer to our audience.
Did you find that when you were at the stage where you had a gallery, was that actually sort of making money, or was it just as a shop window for getting stuff? Or
we had the clear plan that it was going to be sort of a gallery for other people's work and not Jennifer's. We've just had like a solo show of her work, and she's found that very uncomfortable to walk through her work every day, and it feels a bit vain. But the kind of the income stream is very much workshop based. So offering kind of like a day's experience for people to book onto is kind of been where we've generated income from it.
So is it a selling gallery, or is it just?
Oh yeah. We sort of. I think we change the show quarterly, and we try and find that balance between accessible, sellable, and also something a bit more. I don't know the word I'm looking for there, but not. We've tried being commercial, and none of that stuff particularly sold, and so in fact we've kind of just gone, well, we just won't worry too much about that aspect and just follow our muse a bit, and that seems to be what the audience kind of want to come and see, which is great.
Things you like.
Things we like.
Yeah.
I think that the audience kind of trusts us to go and find those things. It's great.
It's been a great programme, like exhibition programme that you've had, and you've got some really high profile names.
Yeah. Not sure how we've managed that, but it's great.
I can recommend the workshops as well. It's a great day out.
Yeah.
Lots of team cake.
Loads of
Terrible.
thinking.
I was just going to say, do you want to say a bit more about the Open? Is there prizes attached?
There are prizes. I'm a bit vague as to what they are.
Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted to start. Maybe it says on the
It says
website.
from, and I can't
Yeah, so we've got.
So
So there's embroidery magazine.
Contemporary. Little Northern.
Little Northern, I
Contemporary.
think, are offering
That's
some tickets.
Okay.
There's Land Baby, I think, are offering their really small craft gallery, but they're offering exhibition space, I think. Homecraft, I think, are offering money, which is always good. The Brindley, I think, are offering some kind of showcase.
What is the Brindley?
The Brindley Gallery in Runcorn.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
They're one of the selectors, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think we've got 3 selectors coming this year. And that's it's a great show. We get a really wide spread of stuff. Some, some quite high-end stuff, and some, made at home stuff. We try and find as much room as we can for trying to get everyone in for it as much as we can.
And Molly, yeah, I was just sort of interested, Hannah Watson that you've selected as one of our graduates from Goodwin, as you mentioned, you finished a constructive textile one. I'm just thinking of, presenting it to this year's third year students when they come at night or whatever they do. Sort of your selection process, how do you find them in the first place? Is it things like trawling new designers? Do you have an interview process? How much is their enthusiasm?
We sort of sent the information out as far and wide as we could through things like craft spacing, West Midlands, through social media, asking people who might be interested to submit some images of their work, their CV as it might be, basically kind of asking them to introduce themselves and say how they might fit, why they'd be interested. And then we kind of we shortlisted and called the ones we really like to interview.